With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you can find options that fit your budget, because giving you options is the right thing to do.
Oh yeah, like when I hold the door for someone. Sure, it may be weird if I don't time it right, and they're a little too far away, and now they're running, and we're both asking ourselves, is it worth it to run instead of just, letting them open their own door?
But still, it's the right thing to do. So get options based on your needs with Progressive's Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Game over, game over.
You're gonna need a bigger potion.
So serious.
I am Iron Man.
This is a tasty burger.
Welcome to the InSession Film Podcast.
Welcome to the new podcast presented by the female film critics of InSession Film. We are speaking, we love movies, we are Women in Session. We are seriously talking about Amy Adams this week. We had a lot of fun doing all her lighthearted film debate. We have a full house here tonight, so I'll just jump right in with introducing everybody, because this is going to be confusing, as I say, because we have Amy Thomason, our drama teacher by day, InSession film critic by night. Shadan Larki is back with us again. You also write for Awards Daily. We have to get into Oscar debates, of course, if we're going to talk about serious Amy Adams. And Erica Richards at E-Rock Reviews is here. I'm Kristin Battestella at Therefore Review on Twitter. And, Amy Smith actually wrote, she's our awards editor at InSession Film. She wrote about Hillbilly Elegy. She was not quite a fan, liked the performances, but was not a fan of the film overall. And I believe Amy Thomason, you mentioned that last week.
Yes.
Did you?
Yes, very much so. She and Glenn Close were great. It's just an awful movie. And it also didn't age well because we all learned about the real guy. And it's hard to romanticize him as a human being.
That is one of those movies where, for one, I saw the poster where it had the names over the wrong woman.
That annoys me.
Annoys me. And then I'm like, so wait, it's based on the dude's memoir. It's about the dude. It's not even about the chicks, Okay. Now, Erica, you were not with us last week to discuss some of the Amy Adams comedies. So I do want to backtrack a little bit. Do you have any Amy Adams favorite comedies?
What did you guys talk about?
Oh, all of them. June Love, Enchanted.
I thought she was incredible in Enchanted. I love that one. I agree. Just to bounce back to Hillbilly Elegy for a second, I agree. But I could also watch her and Glenn Close be reckless hillbillies for hours on end. I could watch that for hours on end. I still don't think it's a great film overall. It was just okay, but their performances, I could watch them be those characters for hours on end. Other comedies, I'm trying to think.
The Muppets.
I never saw that.
That always gets forgotten. I just want to make sure everyone knows she was in a Muppet movie and she was amazing.
What I'm trying to think of what other, because I've rewatched all these serious ones this week. I'm trying to remember other than Enchanted. What else has she been in?
Drop Dead Gorgeous.
I didn't see that either. I guess I'm more of a serious Amy Adams fan, I guess.
Did you watch Disenchanted?
No, I haven't watched that yet, but I didn't hear good.
All you ladies are supposed to be Amy Adams connoisseurs, and yet all of you were like, no, I can't touch Disenchanted.
Things. I don't know. I will eventually watch it, but I loved her in Enchanted. What was she in some rom-com that I'm remembering called Leap Year or something?
Yes.
I kind of remember
we did talk about that.
Did people like it? I'm trying to even remember.
I didn't see it.
Okay, yeah. I feel like it was generic rom-com kind of thing.
Well, that's what we said. Her career is not divided between early comedy as sort of her launching pad and then into serious Oscar bait. She kind of bounces around back and forth, but a lot of those roles were generic. I don't know, take what you can get. So, tough to filter the cream from rising to the top, kind of getting what she could. And then I found it interesting that Enchanted and Charlie Wilson's War were around the same time, because it was coming on in some big pieces, right at the right moments.
Yeah. Also, I'm going through her filmography now. Julie and Julia, I don't know if that would be considered comedy, but I love.
Yeah.
I
it's
love
very
her.
light.
Yeah, I loved her in that, and I love Julia Child, and I love Meryl Streep, so that was a good one. And then I forgot she was in Talladega Nights, which of course I love Talladega Nights, and her character was really just funny and sweet in that one. So yeah, I other than that, I mean, I think she has way more serious roles. I'm just scrolling through really quick from what I can tell, and a lot of her serious stuff I love.
Is that a case of a comedic actress can't be taken seriously? The moment she starts serious roles is where all the Oscar nominations arise.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I just think she's in way more serious stuff. Like, and I was looking too, and this is one that I just recently watched. Is oh shoot, what's that one with her and Meryl Streep, and they're at that school? Doubt.
Ooh, we got to talk about that one tonight.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need some time.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't know. I think she's taken seriously either way. I just think she's more, likely to get nominated for things that are more serious. And I think she does a great job in those types of films. And I know this isn't a film, but I would love to talk about it, is Sharp Objects eventually. Hopefully everyone's seen Sharp Objects.
Yes, definitely Sharp Objects. But I would argue, I don't know if this is a controversial opinion, I would argue she's like a dramatic actress who happens to be very good at comedy rather than a comedic actress who does drama sometimes.
Yeah, I agree.
Interesting. Because Doubt is her second supporting actress nomination, because Junebug is 2006. Doubt is 2009. And that's Penelope Cruz won for Vicky Cristina Barcelona. Viola Davis, also Doubt, Terry P. Henson, Benjamin Button, and Marissa Tomei for The Wrestler that year.
That was stiff competition there. And it's hard to say. I don't think people, I feel like she often, when she's up against someone else for the same film, The Fighter, for example, for some reason, I don't think she's going to win when she's up against someone else from her same film. Because if someone from Doubt was going to win, I feel it would have gone to Viola Davis, and hashtag congratulations, EGOT winner, Viola Davis. We love you. We knew you could do it. You're amazing.
Yes, I'm so I feel like I can die happy knowing that Viola Davis has her EGOT. Like, the joy that I feel is as if I got the EGOT myself.
That's just what I was going to say. I was going to say, I really emotionally needed this win for her.
Right.
Yeah. But
very, very deserving, and I'm ecstatic.
I feel like, and why I'm glad we're talking about it tonight, because I feel like Amy Adams's performance in Doubt does get overshadowed. But she's equally as brilliant as everyone else.
Is it because the way her character was in Doubt?
She is. I think she's not. She's sort of the one in the middle for the whole movie, and yet she's such a, almost for me, one of the most complex characters in the film, because obviously Meryl Streep is amazing and perfect and wonderful, and her character is such a strong, powerful force. And I also think that movie should have been nominated for Best Picture.
It's
love it. I don't think it wasn't nominated for Best Picture, but all the actors were nominated. No, maybe they weren't, because I don't think Philip Seymour Hoffman was nominated either.
Yes, supporting actor. But that was Heath Ledger for The Dark Knight.
Had Heath Ledger, one for Brokeback Mountain. Just saying.
That's why I was curious, whenever we get a chance to talk to Amy Smith, our awards editor. She's in the middle of chasing the gold stuff right now. Like, okay, the hot mess that is this year. We know how I love mess, but this Oscar stuff sometimes just doesn't seem fair about when people are graciously nominated or included or cancel each other out, because Doubt, and then it's like every 2 years, then is where you get The Fighter that she's nominated, even though she did a lot of work in between there. Some of it, the comedies.
And she lost to Melissa Leo, and we'll definitely get to that performance too. But in Doubt, she is such an innocent. She is kind of who the audience is supposed to be, sort of confused and not really sure who to trust. And as a Catholic, this can sound weird. I loved that they actually showed a nun that has like a soul, because in pop culture, nuns are always these like evil, vindictive, horrible people. And John Patrick Shanley based Amy Adams's character on a nun that was his teacher, who he did love very much. And I love that. And I love her character's humanity. And I love, she does have these dramatic moments.
But it does
they're
seem weak and naive. And I think that, not to say she didn't give a strong performance of that, but like you said, if it's between her and Viola Davis gave a very strong like performance in a very strong, like bold character.
And in that scene, wow. And I wouldn't fault anybody for voting for Viola Davis, but Amy Adams, I just think you see her torn. And I think it's just that her role seems quote unquote easier. And I don't think it is, because you see that humanity. And I love right after that scene, which is one of the greatest play, film, any scene I've seen, with all three of them, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Meryl Streep, Amy Adams, where at first they're talking about the Christmas pageant, and then they're talking about the boy with the altar wine, and they're shifting around. It's so good. And at the end, she's so relieved. She's like, thank God, we know it happened now. And she's so relieved that everything is back to the quote unquote way it was. And Meryl Streep's like, did you believe him? And instantly dumping on Amy Adams and her optimism. And Amy Adams realizing, and that the way that she says it, that you just do not like him. You don't like him because he likes sugar in his tea. And, he writes with a ballpoint pen, and it's making you think these horrible things about him. And she's trying to hold it together and not cry. And then her like, I like Frosty the Snowman. So she's trying to break away from Meryl Streep at that point. And it's just very, very powerful to me. And that scene where, because Meryl Streep the whole time is like, you have to be meaner to them. The kids have to be scared of you. They have to be scared of you. And she goes off on that kid and she calls him boy and she yells at him. I think she even sends him to the office, and the little boy like looks at her and he starts crying, and she's like, oh my God, I've become her. I've let her destroy that part of my soul, which Philip Seymour Hoffman said, don't let her do that to you. And you see her heartbreak for that little boy. And that was really powerful for me. And I feel sad that, that she so often gets forgotten in that movie. And then at the end, when she said, I can't sleep at night because of what happened. And we see that lasting effect on her. And she looks lovely with that little bonnet on. She's just so pretty. She is just so beautiful and pretty.
In a weird way, was that almost a visual on screen of Amy Adams is now the new Meryl Streep, getting all these nominations and none of these wins? Shadan, did we get your opinion on Doubt? Because I know you liked a lot of those early Sunshine Cleaning and Leap Year. So she was still doing some of these pleasant kind of comedies, and then comes out with all these, big heavyweight drama, on screen in Doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys touched on a lot of my favorite aspects of that movie. I mean, the sort of innocence that she has, the warmth that she has. And I think she's just one of those actresses where we take her for granted. Like, maybe if somebody else had delivered that performance, we'd be more wowed by it. But when it comes to Amy Adams, we're like, well, of course she's that good, like for us, maybe Amy Adams being extraordinary isn't that special. Which is like the reason why I think people were so quick to talk about Viola Davis that year, was because it felt like, even though she'd been around for so long, it felt like a discovery, it felt like the Academy was crowning a new star, whereas like Amy had already been around at that point.
Yeah. And that Viola Davis was only in one scene, and that was a knockout scene. Like, whew.
Like you said, not to say that Amy Adams is forgettable, but I think she's easy to overlook, where Viola Davis in that scene is unforgettable. Like, you can't forget her performance in that scene. And I think that's ultimately what happened,
I agree. It did seem like Viola Davis was this like, wow, where'd she come from?
She was also nominated for the BAFTA for Doubt. That was with Frida Pinto and Slumdog Millionaire and Tilda Swinton in Burn After Reading, and Penelope Cruz winning again. So she was getting the acclaim, I guess, was being spread around. But, and there's all the different ensemble nominations that year for Doubt too.
And I've seen that movie. That's not, I mean, Penelope Cruz was great, but when people think of Penelope Cruz, she's been in much better films that she should have won for.
And I think that goes back to sort of like the politics of the Oscars, where like sometimes we feel like it's somebody's time. And that year it just felt like, okay, it's time for us to give Penelope her flowers. And for whatever reason, we just haven't gotten there with Amy Adams yet. It just always feels like, oh, this is a better opportunity to reward somebody else. So which kind of goes back to like our conversation last week of like, when is it going to be time for us to say like, nope, we really need to give it to Amy now?
But what was happening, and this was 2009, because the Academy, this is a whole separate issue probably. This is another thing why I lost interest in the Oscar seasons around this time, because the Academy has no problem giving minorities lots of nominations in supporting actress, but obviously rarely awards wins for minorities in Best Actress category. So I feel like, were they doing a gracious, oh, look, we nominated 2 Black women, we're awarding a Spanish actress, so that they feel like they met their quota that year of typical. And if we speak of people who don't play the politics and the campaigns, we had a chuckle, of course, of Melissa Leo last week. There's consider campaign stuff, which now again, campaign questions are not new or not surprising. I feel like, is the Academy just behind in people using email and social media campaigning because they were so used to backdoor casting couch or taking an ad out in the newspaper kind of consideration things? So After Doubt is the fighter, even though Amy Adams did a lot of films in between.
She is so good in The Fighter. I love that movie. Oh my gosh. And Christian Bale, one of the best supporting actor wins of all time. Ever. God, he was good in that movie. But that's, again, tough between her and Melissa Leo. I didn't recognize Melissa Leo in that movie. I didn't realize that I'd seen her in like 100 other things. She was just so funny. But Amy Adams, again, I think because people think these roles that she does are so easy. She's like a Gene Hackman. She's just consistently good, and it doesn't seem like she's acting. And maybe that's why. She's too pretty to be a character actress, I guess.
Yeah, I just rewatched The Fighter. I didn't realize it was one of those that I'm like, have I seen this before? And then I realized, like, when I went to go log it on Letterboxd, that I had seen it before. And I agree. I think she's so good. I thought her accent was so good. Like, I don't like it just
when she beats up the sisters. When the sisters come to the house and you see Mark Wahlberg go, please do not go down there. I'll rip the hair right out of your freaking head.
Yeah, she was so good. And I honestly thought her chemistry with Mark Wahlberg was really good. Like, surprisingly. Yes. Like, when it first started, I'm like, oh, am I gonna is this gonna be weird to watch? And they surprisingly had really good chemistry, and I totally bought it, right? Like, I was invested. I totally bought it. Like, I thought her accent was great. I thought she played that character really well. Like you said, I think she's just consistently good, and I believe her in every role that she's in. And yes. She takes different roles. I was thinking too, because earlier this week I had watched American Hustle, which I known I'd seen before, but it was just kind of one of those, whenever I must have watched it, I had a completely different experience this time watching it. The first time I watched it, I must have been distracted because I thought it was really confusing. And this time I was like, oh, this is so straightforward. I'm following this story, and she was so good in that too. And watching those both this week, because I knew we would talk about them, I was like, I need to rewatch these. Like, she's good at accents, even though in like American Hustle, I felt like she was doing an accent, right? Because she had like British accent, and it really wasn't that great. But I was like,
it's the way someone from Albuquerque, I think she's originally from. It's a trashy person from Albuquerque trying to be sophisticated,
and it was perfect. I'm like, because it was funny. My boyfriend said like, her British accent really isn't that great. I said, I think that's
not supposed to be.
As I said, I was like, I'm pretty sure that's like because her character is doing an accent. She's not actually British, right? Like, I was like, that's on purpose. And I think it's like really good that it's that noticeable, that it's like, oh, it passes, but like, it's not really that great of an accent. It's like,
it's an accent. It's an accent also that Bradley Cooper's character would totally buy, because he's not the brightest.
Right. And he was just like so into her. And it's funny because like, I don't really.
She was sexy AF in that movie. My God.
I know. I don't really think of her as like a sex symbol or like a bombshell, but in these two movies, I was like, oh, she's a hottie. Like, and of course she's gorgeous, right? And like
she is.
It was funny because when we sat down to watch American Hustle, he goes, "Yeah, I know I've seen this too, but I don't really remember it. All I remember is there being a lot of chest." And I'm thinking, she doesn't have big boobs. Like, what are you talking about? And then I was like, oh, like all of her shirts are like the deepest V cut you could ever have, but she's freaking pulling it off. She was.
She always seems so sweet. She's always so pretty, and she's always so sweet. But
like the girl next door, but in these, she was like sex kitten, and I was into it. I was like,
when she and Cooper are at the disco and they're both dancing. First of all, Cooper in that scene, he can move his hips. Not like I've noticed this.
I love him.
And then they go in the bathroom stall, and I was like, that is a hot.
I know. I was like, oh my gosh, this is.
Oh my gosh.
And I believed it, right? I wasn't looking at it like Amy Adams and Bradley Cooper. Oh, this is weird. Or like I said, like with Mark Wahlberg and her. Mark Wahlberg was like stunning, and
he doesn't get enough credit for his acting. And people who know me would be surprised to hear me say that, but I loved him in that. I thought he should have been nominated for Boogie Nights. That's just me. I thought he absolutely was amazing in Boogie Nights, especially considering I was of the age where my cheerleading group did a dance to that song that he did in the 90s. He had a song that was a hit song, and we danced to it.
Like with New Kids on the Block?
No, that's his brother. That's
oh my gosh.
Oh, sorry.
It was called Good Vibrations.
Okay.
Sweet sensation.
I have to intrude here as host number one, because I mean, you youngsters don't even remember Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch.
I was too young. That was out of my age range.
Good Vibrations, and then before that, he was a Calvin Klein model.
Oh my!
I know my Marky Mark, and I still think of him as Marky Mark. But
Good Vibrations was on the radio yesterday, and I had a blast jamming to that one. I have to say, I feel like Erica, we have the same brain, because I said the same thing last week. I was like, American Hustle is like the first time that I saw her, and I was like, oh, she's like a bombshell. Like, she really got to be sexy in that movie. And two things, I think she does remarkable accent work, and she's just one of those actresses too that has chemistry with absolutely everyone.
Yes,
she really does.
Yes,
she really does.
Also, like with Philip Seymour Hoffman, like in The Master, like that, it's like such a weird dynamic, but like you totally buy into it.
Oh, I remember she was on possibly Inside the Actors Studio after he died, and she was talking about him, and she was crying, and I just wanted to hug her and be like, it's okay.
Yeah.
But she really does. And I love that she doesn't take herself too seriously. But that's why, and again, David O. Russell is a horrible man and mean, but he got some awesome performances from these actors that I love. I love Christian Bale in American Hustle. I think Bradley Cooper is hysterical. I think Louis C.K. in American Hustle is wonderful.
Another terrible person, apparently.
Yeah.
Another terrible person, but he was really funny in that part that he was
devil's
in.
advocate. See, we say she doesn't play the Hollywood game, but Doubt is effectively a make under because all she's wearing is the little cap on her head. And then we say if she's saucy looking in The Fighter and American Hustle, well, then she gets award nominations. So it is kind of like, I feel like because Hillbilly Elegy, she's kind of got the real,
Drug hair.
I didn't want to be rude, but okay. But like she always looks like herself. So when you do let's hide her nice hair, or let's just put it in the push-up bra, in some 70s wild, look, we'll give her Best Actress nomination. So I do feel like, and the way it's David O. Russell, I wonder how much of that is the male gaze, as opposed to some of the earlier comedies where you can say, I like her because she's quirky, because she is a nice girl, I do love her, I just want to hug her. And then these movies where is it more the male view that, oh, look how great she is, we have to nominate her for this because it's so cute, she's like got an accent on top of an accent, and looks hot.
They were able to make her a knockout in American Hustle. And I just have to say, this is one of my favorite lines in the movie. One of the things I identify with that movie is the wanting to reinvent yourself and wanting to be sophisticated and worldly and beautiful and stylish, but not feeling that way. Like that, I think, is why I identify so much with the movie. I don't know if anyone else ever felt that way, but that's what I got out of it, is that these characters are at the bottom and they want to be better than they are. And when she's at Cosmopolitan magazine for the interview, and they're like, oh, do you have clerical skills? So this month we're talking about cunnilingus. What do you think of that? And she's just like, I like it. And you can tell she has no idea what they're talking about, but it's just, I can't help it. That line just kills me. I love that movie so much. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I didn't remember it being as funny as it was on this rewatch. Like I laughed a lot and I was like, I don't remember this being this funny, but it really was.
That's what we were debating last week. Where does it fall, between comedy and drama? I think good films are undefinable, but
well, it's, and I think before the podcast started, audience members, we were talking about the great Billy Wilder, and look at the movie The Apartment. The Apartment is labeled a comedy, a romantic comedy, but it goes to some really super dark places. And I think the best movies do that. They can't just be categorized that, because I think that's how life is. Life is not harrowing and terrible every single second of the day, and it's not light and fluffy every single second of the day. We have ebbs and flows.
Now, being that Valentine's Day is coming up soon, we did have romantic comedies penciled in on our topics list. Our Women in Session topics spreadsheet just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And all our ladies are already here gushing about men. And it was Miss Zita Short who said, oh no, we have to do a whole romantic comedy series. So we're going to be totally cliche women and discuss all those classic romantic comedies as well. Erica, you weren't here last week when we started talking about American Hustle, because that year is the year Cate Blanchett wins Blue Jasmine. So I wondered your Oscar opinion of that Best Actress. It was Cate Blanchett, Sandra Bullock for Gravity, Judi Dench for Philomena, and Meryl Streep for August Osage. You know what movie I mean?
Yeah. I can't really weigh in because I never saw Blue Jasmine. And the other ones you're listing too, I know those, but I've never seen those either. So I feel like I have a biased opinion here. I don't know. I'm still back on her not being nominated for Arrival.
Yeah.
Right? I don't get that.
Okay.
So can we talk about Arrival now? I've been waiting for the Arrival moment to arrive. So I have two Amy Adams performances that I absolutely love. I think, which we'll get to this, but my favorite performance of hers in anything ever is Sharp Objects. But Arrival to me is there's something about what she does in that movie that transcends anything she's ever done. It's deeper than her other performances and more lived in than her other performances. there's just something she does where it's like it kind of felt like she reached like a new level, like a new like transcended like a, I don't know, it's just so good. And it's like there's so much pain, and like you really, I guess because she's a mother in real life, but like you really feel the pain she's in of losing a child, and this sort of this idea that she's like running away from it, and she's trying to like connect with this otherworldly being, let's say, as sort of a surrogate child in some ways. She's just phenomenal in that movie. And like that's one of those things where not only would I have given her like a nomination for that film, I would have given her the win. And that kind of goes back to my earlier point of like, did people, which I mean there is genre bias in the Academy, but like did people think that like people were just going to vote for her? Like she just seemed like a no-brainer because it's Amy Adams giving a really good performance. But yeah, she's that to me, yeah, that's like top Amy Adams for me.
Well, and that movie was nominated in like 100 categories, and she's like the main reason why that movie is so good.
Yeah, which is why you can't really say
doesn't make
bias.
sense.
Yeah, because it gets like Villeneuve for director, it gets a bunch of
Best Picture.
Best Picture. So I really do think it is a case of them people just thinking like, of course they're gonna vote for her.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you both. I think she is that movie, and for her to not get a nomination and yes, a win, she definitely should have had a win for that. It's really heartbreaking. Like I can't imagine how she felt, and I think it is that. I wonder if that is what it is, right? It's a kind of that thing where it's like, I don't want to say she gets overlooked because she obviously has been nominated for a lot of things and had like recognition for a lot of things. But I agree with you. Is it one of those things where it's like, oh, like that'll definitely happen, so we don't need to like worry about it? And that makes me sad for her. I feel like people should have been looking out for her and it being like, oh, this is like really her this is her Oscar. And then, you know, years from now, she's going to be nominated for something. And then, oh, we got to give it to her because of that time, you know? So
who won that year? I don't remember off the top of my head.
I don't remember either.
And with her being nominated, but not winning for American Hustle, the only reason I'm okay with it is because she lost to Kate Blanchett. If she had lost to Sandra Bullock, we'd be having a very different conversation right now. I would be hurling my computer across the room.
Because we've talked genre bias. I mean, it was nominated for all kinds of technical things, and it was nominated for adapted screenplay too. It is based on a great short story, but how much of that is it's so deep as a woman's role, and we just don't get women's roles that are that deep and that complex? Because that year, the winner for Best Actress is Emma Stone for La La Land, which I feel like is much more lighthearted kind of role. Isabella Huppert for Elle, Ruth Negga for Loving, Natalie Portman for Jackie, and Meryl Streep for Florence Foster Jenkins.
Like really? We had
Natalie Portman was incredible. Jackie, though, she was so good.
I mean, this may be my angry moment destroying my computer of like Meryl Streep, who I adore, getting another nomination where like Amy Adams is dust.
And
for one of her more forgettable roles. Right.
And the only Oscar, by the way, that Arrival wins is for sound editing.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Crazy.
It's just shameful.
And it was a really popular movie. But here's what I was thinking. It is also a very subtle performance. And so many of her performances are subtle.
Yeah.
And I think just like in Doubt, I think because she plays this quiet, sweet, yet tormented character, she gets overlooked because she's not Philip Seymour Hoffman or Meryl Streep with that, you know what I mean? She didn't have that big one strong Oscar scene. And with Arrival, it's also very, very subtle. She's not, I mean, compared to Emma Stone, who was singing and dancing. And
yeah.
And I felt like that was their way of rewarding that film, although that also won.
But the BAFTA, Emma Stone wins Best Actress. And they also nominated Emily Blunt for The Girl on the Train, which I completely don't understand. I didn't like that movie very much. And Natalie Portman. So again, song and dance or biopic or I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. It was a really quiet, patient performance and so moving. But again, I just think that gets overlooked sometimes, unfortunately. It seems
And
like,
she looked very plain.
yeah.
This wasn't her being pretty or ugly or anything. This was
But
her
she
being
get-
like
She got
a
a
normal
nomination for
person.
Vice. Did anybody see Vice? I was looking at all her
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I'm the only person in America and film Twitter who, when I saw that movie, I thought it was good and enjoyable
did
and
too.
clever and funny.
Yeah, I liked it too. I didn't hate on it as much as the rest of film Twitter did. But
And
I
where
mean,
was-
her getting a nomination for that and not Arrival, it's like, come on, guys. Like,
But
what are you doing?
But when you hear Amy Adams, again, with all my love and affection for her, is playing Lynn freaking Cheney, you're like, no way. But she also played it straight. I also am outraged that Steve Carell was not nominated for his performance of Donald Rumsfeld, because he was, in my opinion, the best part of that movie.
Yeah, I would have nominated him over Sam Rockwell. Like, I adore Sam Rockwell, but that's another one of those nominations where you're just like side eye.
Mhm.
Really?
But the thing is, he was really good.
Mhm.
But I have feelings for Sam Rockwell that we won't discuss right now. But I just feel like that movie totally got overlooked. And it was really too bad, because it was actually really good. And she played the depth of that character that most of the people who are seeing the movie are not big fans of the Cheneys. And yet she still gave her depth and humanity, which is hard to do.
And this is something about Amy that I said last week, which I will repeat, is like, she will give her all to a movie that does not require her all. Like, she could have phoned in that role and she didn't. Like, she showed up. And I have been in a Matthew Perry rabbit hole because I've been reading his book, and I was watching Serving Sarah yesterday, which is not a great movie, but Amy Adams shows up in 2 scenes as like this, like like a Southern belle that's like after someone's money, and she's like so good. And I'm like, you don't need to be doing this. Like, you don't need to try so hard. It's fine. But she just, and I said this, like, I don't think she's capable of giving a bad performance. I don't.
No.
Okay. The Oscar, she's nominated for Junebug, Doubt, The Fighter, and The Master for supporting actress. Then American Hustle for best actress. Then Vice again for supporting actress. So, Shadan, you mentioned The Master briefly.
Let's go back to The Master.
Sorry, we're back. Yeah, we're bouncing all over the place.
Which, I mean, that goes to how it's like we have to jump around because there's just so much to talk about. But she's there, and that's another role. I mean, she's kind of like a Lady Macbeth, like evil, pulling the strings behind the scenes. But she's so good. I want her to work with Paul Thomas Anderson again. I feel like he really unlocked something.
And again, yet she also played a very quiet, mousy character.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't have a big moment.
Well, that was
in the
Man with an E for Les Miserables winning for best supporting actress that year. So again, you know, the big performance is what Hollywood is going to choose, of course. And interestingly, now that I'm looking at this now, going back and forth, Jackie Weaver is nominated supporting actress for Silver Linings Playbook. And she's also nominated for Animal Kingdom the same year that Amy Adams is nominated for The Fighter.
Shout out to Joey Gentile. Every time I think of Jackie Weaver in that movie, I think of him and how much he wishes that she had won.
You know, bouncing around the same competition in the same kind of circles. Sally Field for Lincoln, Helen Hunt for The Sessions. I don't even remember that one.
She plays a sex therapist in that one.
I don't know. Some of these, and I've said it before, like Mira Sorvino types, best supporting actress also seems like kind of a curse too when you get nominated.
It does.
Okay, can we talk about Nocturnal Animals?
I have not seen that one, so I am going to lean on you and ask you, is that a good movie? Because I do want to see it, because I did hear it was good.
I'm like afraid to recommend that movie to anyone because I feel like it's one of those things where you either really like it or you absolutely hate it. So,
yes, but you love it, right?
I love it. I love it too. I love Tom Ford, and I love like the the southern, like I like that she's playing like this girl from Texas. I feel like it's me. but she has this scene and it's like the very last scene of the movie, I think, where she's like in this like green dress.
Oh my gosh.
Shows up at this oh my god.
Okay, so you know how we were talking about how she kind of in a lot of performances looks like herself, right? Like she looks like kind of plain Jane. In this film, she wears this heavy dark eyeliner, eyeshadow thing. And even though it's like ridiculous makeup, she looks stunning. Like I think she is gorgeous in this film. This film, yeah, it's funny because I agree with you. You either love it or you hate it. And I remember I showed it to my boyfriend like a few months ago, and it ended, and I was like, "Did you like it? Like, what did you think?" He's like, "I really didn't like that at all." And I was like, "What?" Like, it's one of those moments where you're like so excited to show someone something, and then they don't like it, and you're like, you're just crushed. But I get how people don't like it. First of all, it has one of the most bizarre, I think that's the only way to describe it, bizarre opening scenes. Just bizarre. Like there's no other way to describe it. And it's really interesting how she plays the character who's reading a book that her ex-husband wrote, and the movie is mostly her like as she's reading it, we're seeing what she imagines like the book to be. And it's funny, I actually was just reading something, and Isla Fisher plays like the character she's imagining as herself in like the movie inside the movie, right? And I was just reading like they get this is like one of those like facts on IMDb. It was like the first one or whatever. And apparently her and Isla Fisher get recognized as each other so much that
doesn't surprise me.
They look exactly, yeah, they do have a lot of
they're both really pretty.
But apparently one year, Sacha Baron Cohen, they're married, Isla Fisher and him in real life. And apparently one year they sent out their Christmas cards as Amy Adams. Like they put her as and no one noticed. No one noticed, apparently. So I just read that on IMDb, which made me
makes me love them more.
Yes.
Like, yes. I already loved you people. Now I love you more.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But I just think her performance in that is so interesting because she has such a like her dynamic with like this ex-husband that we never really meet, right? Not to spoil anything, but I just like I feel bad for her because I feel like her life is kind of shambly, right? And I feel like she's like trying to like get it together, and her current husband's like cheating on her, and she's like reading this book about like from her ex-husband, and it's dark and it's creepy and it's kind of scary and kind of thrillerish. I don't know. I just love it. But I agree. I think it's one of those you either love it or you hate it.
The black eyeliner indication that, it's dark and saucy.
Yeah. But she pulled it off. She's gorgeous. Yeah. It looks good on her.
It's also like a very different role for her because she's not exactly nice. And then it's like a character that's like she has like insomnia, and so slowly as the movie goes on, she becomes like more and more kind of like disheveled and like kind of out of it.
Yeah, and she's really standoffish. Yeah, like her character, you can't really like get in there. Yeah, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're totally, like I said, we have the same brain, so you kind of finish my sentences. But yeah, it's not a character that's like the warm and bubbly like Amy Adams at all. Which then again, but then I feel like, and I keep repeating myself, but all of her performances like feel so lived in. It feels like she is that character. Like it doesn't ever feel like Amy Adams giving a performance. It's just like
it just is.
Million. Yeah.
Well, I asked last week, how much of like her early stuff is just trying to be a jobbing actress, trying to get the work. But then it's at some point, maybe she did come to a point where, like I said, made fun of like the Lois Lane stuff and all the goofy DC movies. But then that does allow you to work more, that she's doing things. I'm looking at the filmography, 2 or 3 things a year. Like she did Her, which is unusual a little bit, the same year as American Hustle. Then she did get a little notice for Big Eyes, being like a weird fantasy kind of film. And then Arrival, and Batman or Superman in their Justice League or something. It's like those big things allow you to make something weird like Nocturnal Animals. So in some ways it's like I don't know, because I don't think I've paid attention to. I don't think she doesn't seem to do a lot of interviews or isn't a very vocal outside of here's my movie and that's it. But like, I feel like she is looking to pick and choose interesting things, which is always nice. Yeah. Except for The Woman in the Window.
Oh my gosh. The Woman in the Window.
Yeah. Nocturnal Animals, Vice, Hillbilly Elegy. Yeah. I feel like she had maybe just a bit of a down in the pandemic. I don't know. But I know Shadan was really excited for it. Erica, are you familiar with Night Bitch?
No, but
The only
I
thing
think I should be.
Yeah, it's based on a book that she has.
That's what I thought. I was like, when is this movie coming out?
Wait, no, I have no idea what this is.
No, it's apparently forthcoming. And Shadan said she had read the book, I thought, and that she really enjoyed it last week. Did you say, Shadan?
Yeah, the book is, so it's like this mother and her husband work, so her husband's always traveling, so she's like having to raise her toddler essentially by herself. And so it's sort of this like the non-glamorous side of motherhood, which I always love stories like that. Like she is gonna just tear her teeth into that material and destroy it. I'm so excited.
I'm looking up the book now.
Yeah, we should have a book club, and that should be
Agreed.
Film book club. Ooh. Don't give me any more ideas, please.
I love that idea, actually. I'm such a book nerd and I'm in multiple book clubs, so I will take on more, even though
There's nothing wrong with that, my friend.
But okay, can we talk about Sharp Objects too?
Yes,
because
that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
You're so excited for Night Bitch, Shadan is, but then is it gonna be DOA? But because Sharp Objects, we said that last week, like how come there isn't more of these heavy television vehicles for Amy Adams?
Well, as far as that was a project that she was like involved from the very beginning, and that was like, I think, a years long process of her like developing that character, and she went like deep into it. And I think she like afterwards like talked a lot about how it like basically messed her up emotionally, and she had a really hard time kind of like going back into her regular life. So I think that might be one of the reasons why I don't want to speak for her, but maybe she's like afraid because, those things it's longer than a film. So maybe for her, it's like doing something that requires that level of commitment again would be a challenge. But as I said, to me, that's like another one of my, it would be hard to pick between Sharp Objects and Arrival. Sharp Objects and Arrival, but she is so good. And I loved Michelle Williams and Fosse Verdon. Like, I'm not mad at that Emmy win. That was a really tough year because you also had Patricia Arquette and Escape from Dannemora, like stacked actress limited series race that year. But she's just so freaking good. I don't even know how else to describe. She, like, you are kind of mad at her because she can't get her shit together, but then you're also rooting for her, but then you're also just so heartbroken for like what she's gone through, and like it's just a devastating performance. And like, again, so lived in. Like, you don't feel like you're watching this actress who can be this sexy, glamorous person. Like, she just seems like this reporter who has all these issues, and maybe this girl that you may have met, in passing in your life.
Well, as our Amy had said before, Kate Winslet in Mare of Easttown, and how she said like that was a couple of years out of her life, and how it'll always be now a part of her and changed her and affected her. So it's ironic though, because Golden Globes does like Amy Adams. It seems she was nominated for Sharp Objects, but she had already previously won Best Actress in Motion Picture Musical Comedy for both American Hustle and Big Eyes. So they seem,
which is strange because that one seemed to come and go.
Yeah.
Yeah, she got all of the big nominations that year for Sharp Objects. She just didn't win. She just lost everything to Michelle Williams.
Which I'm not going to argue with that. Michelle Williams was really good. If she lost to someone else again, it's who she loses to, whether I'm okay with it or not.
But now,
American
what was
Hustle,
Michelle Williams in that year? What was Michelle Williams in that year?
Fosse Verdon.
Yeah.
I never watched that, but I do love Sharp Objects, and I agree with you, Shadan, that like like you said, all of her characters are so lived in, like she's so believable. And it was interesting when you were saying that. I was sitting here thinking about like how many actresses over the years like change their hair or dye their hair or different, hair colors. And as someone who is a big fan of redheads, my niece is a redhead, a beautiful redhead, like the same, as Amy Adams. I love that she doesn't really change her look for her characters, and she's still so believable and so like easy to see in that role. Like I remember Jennifer Aniston, like I'm a huge Friends fan. I love Jennifer Aniston. And I remember her talking about being in Horrible Bosses and how she made her hair darker, and I think she like had like bangs or something. And she's like, I can't go in there looking like Rachel Green. I can't play this character looking like Rachel Green. And that's what I love about Amy Adams is she's so versatile. Like she can look the same, but she's like a chameleon and she becomes whatever character she is, right? And Sharp Objects, did you read the book? Did anyone read the book?
Mm-mm. Yes, I'm nodding and I'm like, wait, this is a podcast, you can't nod.
Yes.
Yes,
I actually read the book after I watched it. A huge fan of Gone Girl, and I read Gone Girl too before or after the movie, and so then I was like, oh, I need to read her other books, right? And like reading the book and imagining the Amy Adams character, I think made reading the book like a completely different experience. But I agree with you. I think she's just so lived in all of her characters that she plays. And it's just, I was just like thinking about how interesting it is that, but she doesn't change her look. Like she's the same, creepy, dark as in Nocturnal Animals as she is in Enchanted and as she is in Sharp Objects, which like you said, I just have so much empathy for her in that character. Like I just like you said, it's like she can't get like away from herself and her issues that she has. And I just feel for her because like you said, you're rooting for her. You want her to, figure this out and stop drinking and doing all these like horrible things that she's doing to herself. And yeah, it's believable. Like it's not at all tough to get there with her.
Yeah, I also read the book after the show, and it's one of those things where I couldn't really picture anyone else doing it. And then I felt like she just like based on what was on the page, like elevated it. It became so much deeper because it was her giving the performance. And even in Hillbilly Elegy, I felt like it was the same thing because in the book, the mom character felt kind of thin, but she just like added so much to it. And that would have been such a character that's like difficult to root for because she's such a bad mother. But like again, you have so much empathy for her and like you're like rooting for her to push through. And I just don't think anybody else could pull it off the way that she can.
I agree.
Relatable motherly and women's roles. OMG. Well, of course that's why she's not winning, because she's not playing, I don't know what we expect, the saucy biopics or something. I don't know. Those Emmys, it was nominated for Outstanding Limited Series, lead actress Amy Adams, supporting actress Patricia Clarkson. But again, you say Michelle Williams wins, but Patricia Arquette's nominated that year. Niecy Nash is nominated, and it's almost like at that point, and this is surprising to think that it's like 5 years ago, 2018, but it's like at that point, was it too much overflow or too much influx? Like, look, all the movie people are now making limited series events, specials or something, that it's like, even when she does a television, still always, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Even when she gets nominated for television stuff, she still doesn't win.
Yeah, I said this last week. It just seems like it just seems like maybe she has bad luck with timing, because whenever she has a year that's like a huge, like a marquee role, it just always feels like there's somebody else that has even a bigger thing. Because even like with Arrival, like you would think, even with like this year's actress race, like it wasn't as stacked. You would think like, of course she would get in, but like just for whatever reason, it's just like the timing just never hits, and it's really unfortunate.
And I know last week we mentioned briefly, like, what would you want to see next, or where do you think she should go? But it's easy to say there's a lot of opportunity in television, but Outstanding Limited Series that year, Chernobyl won. And it's funny because I still feel like, did anybody watch Chernobyl either? I saw it was a great show, but it's like, again, too crowded, I feel like, and I feel like the streaming bubble is going to burst anyway. So I don't know where she would go next. I mean, ironically, even 5 years ago, you could have said this Night Bitch could have been some kind of limited series special event, and now it's just some movie that apparently just has like TBA listed in our filmography. So who knows? Erica, what would you like to see her do?
Well, I'm really excited for this Night Bitch. I'm definitely going to read that. And yeah, I mean, there's certain people that like I feel like when I see them, I'm like, yes, put them in everything. Frances McDormand is one of those for me, which, by the way, I don't know if everyone here has seen Women Talking. I loved it, but I did not have enough Frances McDormand in that film. Just a side note. But I feel like Amy Adams is another one of those people for me. Like, I would be happy to see her in everything. Like, I want her in every movie that I can see. I think maybe like it would be fun to see her in something like a comedy, like, you know, she's done a lot of I'm using air quotes here, serious stuff. I think I'd like to see her in something that's like a true rom-com or a true like comedy. I think that would be fun. I am excited for this Night Bitch. I can't wait to read that and then whenever it comes out.
And, you know, I get frustrated. I saw a couple big things with the Gemma Arterton, 37 Heavens. She's going to play Jackie O or something. And then these movies make a lot of these big announcements. And then they fall through. They never get made. They got lost in the pandemic shuffle or something. So it's like there's so many times where it's like you think something's happening and then it's not. And then all of a sudden a quiet movie shows up and pops out. And then, you know, again, I feel like did Amy Adams lose steam in the pandemic? Because you had the Justice League stuff, I don't know what they did, the re-edit or something. And The Woman in the Window and Dear Evan Hansen were kind of all three in a row. So I don't know. I feel like she had some clunkers. I feel like has Hollywood already moved on? Because how old is she? Heaven forbid we say that. She's reached a certain age.
I have no idea. I really have no idea how old she is.
I am
We know how
very
Hollywood
excited for Night
is
Bitch.
that.
I want her to move away from these sort of like sad mom roles. Like I feel like we don't need to see that anymore. Like do something else. I feel like something like Silver Linings Playbook, like something that's funny but something that has like meat to it, she would do like really good.
She is 48, so she is definitely
False.
She's born in
I just looked it up too, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That can't be.
So
Whatever she's doing.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, she seems to have the gravity and skill level of our other beloved Kate Winslet. But yeah, that good for her. Kate Winslet, who, side note, did sign on apparently for another HBO series.
You know who I was waiting to be also included in that cast list? Her Lucky Charm for her Emmy wins.
Yes, Mr. Man himself.
Wait, is it a continuation of Mayor of Easttown, or is it?
No, I think it's something completely different.
Okay.
Which, as much as I worshipped Mayor of Easttown, right, I'm glad that they made it a one-time thing.
Me too, because I heard, that's why I was asked, because I had heard rumblings about a sequel like season, and I was like, no.
Oh, I don't know. At this point, yes, Hollywood would say, oh, because Disenchanted, none of you gals have seen, I thought made a big splash on Disney Plus. I guess it didn't. I guess people who wanted it, who were waiting for it, enjoyed it. But she's 48 years old. Well, we've come to, she's doing the legacy sequels on Disney Plus.
No.
But that seems really unfair. You know, I
gotta get her Oscar. We need her to get her Oscar.
We do. Oh, and she looks so beautiful in her gown. Like I've got in my head, because think of how long I'm sure we all waited for Kate to get hers. She was doing amazing work. And then she finally won, and she was beautiful and amazing and wonderful. And we're all so happy.
Your trinity of women here, Kate Winslet. No, you didn't. Yours isn't Julianne Moore.
No, I do dig myself some Julianne Moore, but Kate Winslet and Amy Adams are just.
You're waiting for them to be in a show together. That's where we're going.
I just love them. I
have my quartet, my two Kates, my Julianne Moore, and my Amy Adams. So Amy's the only one without an Oscar.
As in Kate Blanchett?
Yes. Kate Blanchett,
Good.
Kate Winslet, and
Yes, we'll be talking
Julia
about in the
Roberts,
future. I'm
I
sure.
cannot argue with any of those, and I love them. But Amy Adams and Kate Winslet are just, I don't know what it is. They're just beautiful and lovely and talented, and I love their movies. But I also want to be best friends with them.
Yes. Yes, that's the other part that's very important, where you can see yourself being best friends.
Yes, I very much want to
Yeah, you're like, we would totally get
I
along
want to
and
go to
hang
like
out.
karaoke night with Amy Adams.
But isn't that part of the Amy Adams appeal is like she seems like a genuinely nice person, and like we don't like she's not overexposed. Like she'll go do her talk show to like promote the movie and then she goes away. Like you don't really see paparazzi shots of her. I don't think she's on social media. Like I think that's part of the reason why we can buy her in all these weird roles, because we don't really know that much about her.
Exactly.
So she's able to here.
But she's also like a real actress, because you think about some of these really famous people. Meryl Streep doesn't seem to play the game. She's everywhere, but at the same time, she's not,
So
she has a life.
Who's gonna write a top 10 Amy Adams for In Session Film now?
I have some homework to do.
Can we put a composite here together? Can we name our 10 best?
I think we could.
Okay, what do you nominate?
For me personally, Doubt, American Hustle, The Fighter. I'm offering up The Muppets, but that's just me, because you have to actually watch it though, like really watch it, and then believe me.
The Fighter. Shadan, do you have any of your top 3, I guess, to include?
Yeah, I would put Sharp Objects on there. Arrival. I would say Enchanted. I feel like that, because then you would get like full range of what she's able to do as an actress, like with those 3 things.
What was your third?
Agreed.
Enchanted. So Enchanted, Arrival, and Sharp Objects.
No, we really do have the same brain. That's exactly what I was going to go with.
Maybe Nocturnal Animals, because then you could see her do something dark.
Yes. Okay. Those are my top 4. That's exactly what I was going to say.
What would you say, Erica? Nocturnal Animals?
No, the exact same thing Shadan said, and then also Nocturnal Animals as like a, 4th / honorable mention, because I just think it's so different. It's so different than anything she's done, and I just think it's really different, and I also just love that movie.
The top 10s are easier said than done, because
I feel like I'm forgetting one though.
Yeah, you see, it's do you pick the best?
Well, The Fighter too. I think those are my top 5.
But Doubt, American Hustle, The Fighter, Arrival, Enchanted, Nocturnal Animals. Even if we include Sharp Objects, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Which, see? I mean, The Master. Am I the only person who's seen The Master? You
no, guys put in The Master. Yeah. Put in The Muppets, because I think that also shows her range.
Because The Master is another one where there is something sort of dark and sinister sort of lurking behind it, and it's really, really good.
And I really do love Julie and Julia. I think that's a really good one. I think that's a good one.
It's a great movie, and it's one of Meryl Streep's best, in my opinion. And it's got Stanley Tucci, who's always charming.
Mm-hmm.
You bring up a good point. She reworks with some of the same people, cast and crew. So it's like you would think, worked with Steven Spielberg, the goofy David O. Russells, these Meryl Streep movies, that she's got the backing of her peers, which is important. So, and me, I don't judge anything by Oscars or awards. Anyway, I just like to point the finger at all you guys picking on these awards. So I don't think the awards are the definition, because when you look at her body of work.
Oh, Junebug needs to be in there. And she is so sweet in that movie. She's the lovely Amy Adams in that movie.
But she's made some clunkers. So overall, her career has had ups and downs, or it's been more uneven. But I feel like that's because she's worked consistently and she's willing to try different things, which I think is more important than somebody who just keeps making the same thing over and over again.
And making a clunker with Glenn Close. I mean, come on. That's nothing to be ashamed of. And with Ron Howard.
True. Shadan, did you have your final thoughts?
Yeah, I just want to say I think she's done more good than bad. I don't really because the thing is, even with her clunkers, there are things that like on paper they make sense. Like, okay, like an adaptation of a very popular memoir with Ron Howard, an adaptation of a very popular musical.
Yeah.
Like it makes sense why she would think that that would be like a good role to take. And as I said last week, like do your superhero movies, get your paycheck. Like she can do no wrong. And even in a clunker, she's very good.
I knew you were going to say that. She can do no wrong. That's she
can do no wrong. That is the tagline for this episode. That is my final thoughts. Thank you so much.
That's the title. Amy Adams can do no wrong. Shadan, no, this is you giving me your thoughts. I'm sorry.
Yes, hard agree. She can do no wrong. Put her in every movie. I can't wait to see what she does next, and I'm excited for her to one day have an Oscar.
Erica, you're also with what, Cinefied? Have you done any Amy Adams writings?
No, I don't think I have. Did I write about Hillbilly Elegy? Maybe I did. I can't remember if I did or not. I'll have to look. I don't think maybe I did. I don't remember.
You're at eRock Reviews on Twitter. And Shadan, Awards Daily. Have you done anything more with Amy Adams there?
I haven't.
Because now
I haven't. I would like she's like on my like dream list of people I'd like to interview. Even if I die afterwards, like if my heart just gives out afterwards, I still want to do it.
I was thinking that we should try to get her on the show.
No.
And get her this episode at her. Somebody like send it to her and she'll
Can
be
someone
like,
please do that?
These lovely ladies talking wonderfully about me.
And she can support. Yes.
I sent you that video of Kate Winslet talking to that young girl reporter, being like, no, this is going to be great.
I was so jealous. And
that's one of my favorite things ever.
And I thought of that because I thought you would be like, maybe she would come on the show.
Maybe she would. It did make me think that. And it also made me think, oh, another example of her being gracious and lovely and wonderful and perfect. I mean,
sometimes I just watch that video and I pretend she's talking to me. I'm like, yes, got it. Yes,
because that's exactly how I would be. You all have done all like interviews and stuff. I've never done it. So I'm aging myself here. Chris Farley on Saturday Night Live used to do the Chris Farley show, and he would interview like, what's his name? The dude from the Beatles, Paul McCartney. And his questions would be like, remember when you were in the Beatles? That was awesome. And he just gets all like tongue tied. He doesn't ask anything, but he's like, that was so great. Oh my God. And that would be me. Like, remember when you were in this movie? You were so good. Remember that one scene? You looked really pretty.
We would say, Amy, remember when you should have won an Oscar for Arrival and you weren't even nominated? And then she would hang up the phone and never talk to us again.
And we would be like, who start an aggressive letter writing campaign to get her a post-dated Oscar for that movie.
No, so who's going to write about this for In-Session Film? How can we put this in words? Amy Adams, we love you.
Yes, Amy Adams, we love you. And I might write, I don't know if I'm going to rank anything, but I could write something about her, just the subtlety of her performances and just be like things we think other people overlook in Amy Adams.
That's so funny. It's a good thing this episode is not on YouTube. We have the boys now are doing the In-Session Film podcast on YouTube, and they say they get themselves gussied up, their pretty faces now. You can see and hear and read them talking, because this would have been a little crazy seeing everybody seeing us giggle. I feel bad for the listeners when we start talking over each other and finishing each other's sentences, but that's what happens when you get
we get inspired.
We get talking, we get excited. I start out nice and formal, asking the serious questions, and then we all just end up talking really fast and giggling.
But I will say your makeup looks beautiful today.
Not wearing makeup.
It looks from here, it looks like your lips have a nice little dark berry colored shimmer and possibly a little light green shimmer on your eyes.
Funny. Oh no, I don't have eyeshadow. That's funny.
You just look luminous then. So take that as a compliment.
Because we're excited talking about film. Probably I'm getting, instead of being so pale that we can see each other, you can't see us, you can only hear us. But I get excited talking about, all controversial film opinions. But you can read the things that we have written if we talk too loony and crazy for you at InSessionFilm.com. You can also follow at InSessionFilm on Twitter. They have Patreon and all their action happening now on YouTube as well. So we should do something on YouTube soon. That would be really crazy. But we know I love mess, so so that could be interesting. But thank you for those who are listening and tweeting, liking, sharing. So we shall see you at the next Women in Session.
At Progressive, we know there's nothing like the feeling of riding a motorcycle with your crew on the open road. That symphony of engines roaring in perfect harmony. It's a feeling that would be impossible to recreate on the radio. Until now. Hit it, Jerry! Oh, my word. Really, really terrible. Was that a glockenspiel, Jerry? Quote with Progressive and see if you could save with America's #1 motorcycle insurer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. No, Jerry. It's over.